Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Foundry Hangout. My name is Kyle Gray, and today I'm with Lillian Pierson. Hey, Lillian, how are you?
Hi. Doing great, thank you.
Good. Lillian, why don't you take a minute and introduce yourself and your business?
All right, thanks. I'm Lillian Pierson. I'm the founder of Data Mania, and I'm a data scientist. I work in doing growth hacking and data visualization and data journalism. Um, and I'm also a digital nomad entrepreneur, so I live all over the world as I work, and that's
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 pretty
the
cool.
basics of it. Yeah. So also, let's say I got my degree in engineering and I'm a licensed engineer, but I went into data science,
Hmm.
and I'm really enjoying that. So.
Tell us, it looks like you're in kind of an exotic location right now. Where are you right now?
So right now I'm in Ubud, Bali, at a place called Habad, Habad, or Ubud. So it's a co-working space in Ubud, and it's really awesome actually. I like it. It's only my second time here. I've only been in Bali for like a week, or like 4 or 5 days. So it's a good place.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And before that, you've been in Chiang Mai kind of building out your business for the last, how long?
6 months. About 6 months. I was in Chiang Mai, and yeah, I went there to kind of my feet on the ground. I quit my job in December, and I moved to Chiang Mai, and I really just worked very hard at getting my business built, and kind of getting familiar with like working completely. Like I was doing entrepreneurial work before, but I also had a full-time job, and so just getting my feet on the ground with supporting myself 100%, and like working on my business and working on my projects. And Chiang Mai is very inexpensive, and the quality of life is relatively. I mean, it's okay. So
Uh-huh.
it was a good place to go and like um, get started.
Awesome. Well,
Hmm.
talk about some of your projects as a data analyst. What have been some of the more interesting ones you've done, especially while abroad?
Oh well, while abroad. Um, yeah, okay. I had a project. It was actually very interesting. I had a project. It was a data journalism project, and they were so it was a company who actually owns tons and tons of marketing data, and so they gave me this pretty big data set, and asked me to find the story in it and come up with a visualization for the story. And so I went through all the data, and the findings were pretty interesting. Like I probably spent for I don't know, like a good amount of time on this analysis and visualization. But what I found is that it was talking about purchasing decisions and purchasing the mindset between men and women when they make and like what I found through their data is that women are actually making their purchasing decisions at the store, and they're consulting for decision support. They're consulting people they know, friends, word of mouth. Um, they are not. Whereas men, or they're like making telephone calls. Men, on the other hand, are looking at catalogs and reading online specs, and they're not consulting other people for information as much about the products. They're more independent, and they're making their decisions mostly at home, not at the store.
Yeah.
The women like rely upon what the salespeople say a lot of times in the decision making. This is what the data said, and the men, on the other hand, do not listen to the salespeople, and they already know what they want when they get there. That was pretty interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of a significant difference.
Mm.
So you also use your skills with a philanthropic feel, doing some digital activism. Tell us a little bit about how you can, use data for humanitarian work.
Okay, so I did volunteer. I've done the volunteer work for Standby Task Force and also for Ushahidi. And I worked on projects for, most recently I worked on the project for Typhoon Yolanda, where we were taking crisis data coming from people's tweets and providing working with teams like Esri, providing maps for like where the most damage was happening, where the greatest need for resources was, so that their field responders could have an idea of what's happening on the ground as the hurricane's occurring. It makes for a quicker response. And I also worked on a project for Ushahidi called Uchaguzi for the Kenya election monitoring. Is kind of trying to protect the democratic, like, fair vote for Kenyans, because Kenya, like, they had this huge riot back in, I think, in 2008, and like there was like a massacre because of the unfair elections, and so we like actually did sort of like polling administration, not administration, but polling like election monitoring is all it is. But like, yeah, and I worked with it's a lot of crisis mapping, a lot of like collaborative work with just like hundreds of people and like lots of different organizations, and it's cool stuff. Yeah.
That's pretty fascinating. Did you find, so with Hurricane Yolanda in the Philippines, you were using tweets? Did you think that did the kind of chatter from Twitter pretty accurately represent what was going on in the Philippines?
Yeah. Okay. So in crisis situations that are natural disasters, you have a lot less. Okay, so if you're doing election monitoring, there's politics involved, and so you're gonna have people that want to like throw off the put fraudulent text or whatever messages in there so that they throw off the sample, so that it's not a correct sample. But with natural disasters, there's people just want help, so they're not putting out like fraudulent tweets about like where the disaster is, like they need help. But the thing is that we also have, so Patrick Meyer has been working over at Qatar Computing Research Institute and has made like these clickers so we do crowdsourcing, and we basically, the volunteers use an app now, and we clean the data and we geolocate it, and
I see.
And then and they've got algorithms to like, they're working on the algorithms to detect, to make sure that it's accurate. They can actually now, there's a signature behind fake misinformation. And so like they've developed algorithms where they can basically detect and remove this information that's being put into the stream to throw people off. But this isn't going to happen anyway with a natural disaster, because
Okay. Why don't you describe some of the early challenges you've had getting experience or working for free, and balancing that with paying work?
Okay, yeah, so I, as part of my crisis mapping, I did all of that work for free, which I did it because that's what I was moved to do, and it was an honor to do that. And I was also working full-time and working as an entrepreneur. And what's really happened is that when I went out on my own, I think when people saw that I'm an environmental engineer and a crisis mapper, so yeah, I care about social good, and so much so that I'll work for free, and so people will see that, and then it just seems like people just come out of the woodworks wanting me to work for free. Like, oh, I've got this great project, please sign an NDA so that you can tell me what I need to do and I cannot pay you. Because it's so like great for society, but I'm getting paid to do it. And like, I mean, it's just that people just come out of the woodworks when you work for free, when they know that, and they also see that you care about like people and the environment, and it's just a sign of like, not weakness, but sometimes bad people will take it as the wrong, you know, like, oh, let's take advantage, opportunistic. And so I just stopped working for free because I learned as an entrepreneur. Sorry?
Oh, so I agree with you on a lot of that, and I've had another difficult challenge I've had when working for free or trying to get experience. A big problem was just if you're working for free, there's no limit to the hours, there's no limit to what they're gonna ask of you, but sometimes they don't even act on the work because there's not that value. Kind of being
Yeah, they're
frustrating.
not valuing. You're not. Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. They're not valuing it, and I think like also what I've learned. It's been great for me as an entrepreneur. What I've learned, I knew this before, but I didn't have the. I was getting paid by my regular job, so I didn't have as much need to stand by my worth. But like, basically, I know that my services, they're worth something. Like they're
Mhm.
worth. I'm worth getting. My work is worth being paid for. And but if I devalue myself and tell people that it's not, that I could do this for free, then it's basically saying to them that I don't think I'm worth anything,
Mhm.
and I am worth something, and I have to be the one that tells them. Like just like anything, if you have a product, don't just like sell it for the cheap. Like go based on like the cheapest rate, you know, like based on price. You got to go based on quality and like have some sort of like, you know, self-esteem, self-confidence, and know what you're worth and stand by it. Absolutely.
That's definitely something I've yeah, it was a big challenge for me, just yeah, being able to charge a price and stand by it and know that that's what you're worth. I think it's
Yep.
a big challenge for early entrepreneurs. Um, Tell me some of the differences as a female entrepreneur in kind of a largely male-dominated scene. What are some of the differences in your experience that you've noticed?
The differences. Okay, well, um, I've gotten. I would like to say that I've gotten a lot of respect working as a female entrepreneur, and I found that like I don't have as much of the bias, the gender based bias, as in my entrepreneurial work as I have in an employment workplace.
Hmm.
In fact, I haven't really. I wouldn't say I've had any like if I'm talking to a guy about my project, they generally like respect me.
Hmm.
And if they don't, then they feel stupid later. Like you know, it's fine. It's different than in a workplace where you've got. Anyway, I'm not going to go into that.
Okay.
Um, but so all I can say about gender differences, okay, Bali's great. It's terrific because like here at Hubud, or I don't know how to say it, there's tons of women and it's
Hmm.
like it's equal and it's fair and everyone is like nice and it's awesome. So this has been a great experience. I will say in Chiang Mai, there's mostly all men
Hmm.
that are digital nomads. It's like 90% men,
Wow.
and so yeah. So my what what happened in this circumstance is that when I would go and I need to talk, like I just want to talk to someone because I'm a person and they're a person and we both are entrepreneurs, they would automatically think that because I was talking to them, it must be because like I'm interested in them, and like start telling me about their wife or whatever, like until I like, and so I had to basically break the conversation down to like coding in Python. So they would understand that I'm not like, please don't take it the wrong way because I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you because you're a person and I'm a person, not because I'm interested in you in any way like that. So
Mhm.
that's been kind of interesting where maybe, and sometimes guys think that because you talk to them that that has something to do with like romantic interest and it doesn't usually. I mean, doesn't, so.
And that's interesting. I think as a, or I've heard a lot as a freelancer or as a digital nomad, the line between business and personal relationships is kind of blurred. You're friends with people who are are also people that you can make a profitable business with, but sometimes that isn't exactly clearly defined. Um, But yeah, do you think the population of female entrepreneurs is growing both in the United States and maybe in the digital nomad community?
Yeah, I definitely think it is growing as a whole. I
Hmm.
think there's definitely a minority of women, particularly solo women, entrepreneurs, working as digital nomads. Um, but I think it is growing, yeah.
Okay. And and why do you think it's growing? You kind of talked about it as a result of, or you said that entrepreneurship is maybe more of the secure option these days as opposed to just having a job. Can you can you talk a little bit more about that?
Exactly. So I think that the proportion of women in entrepreneurship is growing. I mean, my idea would be there's two main causes, and one is it's a natural extension of the women's rights movement.
Hmm.
Like first we were allowed to get jobs, and then we're. I mean, it's just a more of like okay, more women becoming more and more independent, as a whole, but then also. Entrepreneurship used to be like a lot more risky, a lot more risk involved, and now that like the economy's gone bad everywhere,
Hmm.
um, it's it having a job pretty much seems like the riskier option because you're at work, you could be a stellar employee, and then your company loses funding on the project, and the next day next thing you know, you're out of job, and you have and it's happening everywhere. So it's like at least if you learn how to make money for yourself on your own, you're not at the whim of like some some manager deciding who gets to stay and who gets to go when they lose their funding. So I think it kind of took the barrier.
Yeah.
Like it's removing the barrier because it's just a lot safer now. I mean, I don't worry about. Sometimes I worry, like, yeah, I'm like a little worried how I'm like traveling the world. Like, I need to pay for things. I've only been on my own for, 6 months or whatever. So I don't worry about money, but I sometimes will think about like just a little concerned. But I'm a lot less concerned as I was as a consultant in the private sector as an engineer. A lot less concerned.
I
A
think
lot.
that yeah, it's pretty natural to be concerned. It even seems like that's pretty relaxed perspective.
Yeah,
Um,
but the worst case scenario is you go back to Chiang Mai and you can live in Chiang Mai for $500 a month. I mean, the worst case scenario isn't that bad.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't even thought of it like that. I guess the worst case scenario is really you can probably go back and get a job with all the skills you've developed really easily.
Yeah, or like, yeah, I mean, I even think about doing that just for like, I like, um, I like working and I like
Yeah.
having a job is nice where you have a role and stuff like that. So, of course, I would consider it like short-term contracts.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think that's all of the questions we have today. I wanted to just leave it open to you to kind of plug any of your services or possibly leave us with a little bit of advice for new entrepreneurs. If you have something
I do
wonderful.
have something.
All
I do
right.
have something. Particularly, yes. Okay, so this is for new entrepreneurs, especially if you want to do digital nomad lifestyle, and in particular women. Um, if I had to do it over again and start over again, like I went to Chiang Mai because it was great. As far as that's what everyone told me. And you can live there for inexpensive and have low overhead and build your business and blah blah blah. So and yeah, like that is true. It's very inexpensive. But like now that I've come to Bali, I'm realizing that there's a standard of living that like I don't think it's probably I don't know that it's worth the emotional toll that it takes to live. Like if you're not like if you're accustomed to a certain standard of living and then you drop far below that, you're gonna be uncomfortable. And so now that I'm like in Bali and I feel like more comfortable and realize what I've been like living through for the last 6 months, I'm like, okay, this isn't happening again. I don't care if I have to pay more money. because I want to feel safe. I want to feel like I'm in a community where I can trust the people around me, and I want to feel like I'm in a healthy community. I want to feel like not super hot all the time. Like I want to have the amenities I need, like not like the temperature, the weather is going to be a factor in where I go, and also like the spirituality. For me, I realized now I need to definitely be in an environment where there's like spiritual people, like it's a spiritual
Cool.
community. Yeah. So like these things now, yeah, I think it's important to like not just make a decision based on like lowest, like where's the cheapest place to live you can get by on, because you might not be comfortable. It's good to spend a little extra
Yeah,
and like not have a crappy life.
I think that's a great. Well, thank you so much for taking some time and coming on with us today. If your digital nomading ever brings you to Utah, feel free to stop by the Foundry and come say hello.
All right, thank you. Thanks so
Thank
much,
you.
Kyle.
Bye-bye.